Well, before we get started on this week's construction update, I'm making this to apologize in advance. The audio got messed up considerably during our recording, and it was something that we couldn't catch or didn't catch until too late in the process. Not enough time. It's now 7:30 p.m. on the night before we're supposed to publish, so we're gonna go with it. We're just rolling with it. We're gonna go with the audio. Hopefully, you guys can forgive me, but just the heads up for those of you who are going to be asking in the comments, what's up with the audio? I'm pretty sure I'm not sure, but I'm pretty sure I had my microphone backwards while recording it. So just FYI, sorry guys. But I mean, the show's good, the update's good, the audio not so much. Just bear with us a little bit. Thanks, guys. Number 6 is alive at Big Thunder. All right, let's go. Meanwhile, Storybook Land is looking almost ready to go too. Should mean we're getting close, but are we? We're going to let you know in this week's construction update all the projects going on around the Disneyland Resort, and we're going to let you know about those 2 projects next. But first, let's go to Pixie Hollow to follow up on a feature that we really loved when we first saw the space getting ready to reopen. You recall in December, when they first opened, they took down these walls, and it just revealed this beautiful update to Pixie Hollow and the grotto and all the little homes and thematic images found there. I was really impressed. I really loved it. And one of the things that I loved the most, as is often the case, moving water. I love moving water in the parks. And when we found the walls down, we found that they had brought in these geysers. I'm not sure, just water features that would just stream water from one place to the next, and it added a very nice, delightful little touch. And there's, it's just the idea of moving water in any attraction has always appealed to me in any way, be that a waterfall, a stream, or geysers. Let's say at Grizzly Peak, right? These guys were great, and I really enjoyed these. And there were several. There was 3 or 4 of them sprinkled throughout, and they would just, pop out of the rocks there, back into the water. Delightful. Now, this was before they had opened Pixie Hollow. When they actually opened up the Tinkerbell meet and greet, those features were off. They turned them off. And I thought, okay, well, this is probably just something that they're working through. It is now 10 months later, but that does not seem to be the case. Pixie Hollow is still a delight. It's still beautiful. Well done. Water's, there is still water movement. There's still very pretty water happening. The grotto itself looks great. The paint job is fantastic. There's another water feature right there. But missing, still, 10 months later, are those geysers. What happened? They would pop out of that. See those holes in the rock right there? They would pop up right out of there. And now I'm thinking they're going to pop over the bridge. They don't go over the bridge and into the other side. They go into the water to the left, and there's another one. There was another one coming out of that rock, though, that would fall into the water. There's a second one. Those would go to the right. Yeah, they would go right there into the water. And then there was another one, and yeah, I think it's that rock there, and it would come out into the water. It was beautiful, beautiful. What's going on here, I'm not sure. Disney has an issue, as somebody has pointed out, with water features not being able to get them to work. And it really is mystifying because it's so crucial to the ambient enjoyment of a space in ways that we don't automatically recognize when they're on. We just, oh, that's pretty, that's lovely. But when they're not, you feel like you're missing something. Go to Hunt or Matterhorn. People have been saying, Dave, what about the waterfall on the backside of Matterhorn? Yeah, no, it hasn't been working. But look now, as I get there, beautiful shot of the monorail, but let's not worry about that. Let's worry about the fact that there's no waterfall here again. Now, this one was working previously, but it's not now. The waterfall is not working on this day as we arrived at the Matterhorn, and if we come around the backside, and the backside waterfall also has not worked since they had that whole downtime refurb period for the Matterhorn, and it wasn't ready. And since it's reopened, it's still not ready. The Matterhorn water is not. So this, just add this to the list of the water features that just intermittently work and don't work, and it's such a shame. But I wanted to point those out because it's been a while. It's been a while since they've worked, and I'm starting to, kind of like Big Thunder, I'm starting to like worry about that. By the way, we have an update on the Big Thunder thing. We're going to get to that. It's not just about the trains and the number 6 being on the track. There's other things that we observed that are interesting that I want to point out. But first, we're going to go to Storybook Land and observe that this, although you can't tell anything from this angle, that anything's happening, progress is definitely being made. Here's a look at Monstro, and it looks like they have taken down more of that scrim and scaffolding. Or the walls just appear to be in a different place. Maybe, I don't know, my perception of Monstro this week is different than it was last week. I'm not sure what that is. Coming around the corner, you'll notice the scrim is down. We had a weather situation on, what was that, Tuesday, I think it was? It rained on Tuesday, so when that happens, they often take down the scrim and scaff, or the scrim, I should say. So we got a nice look at things. Matter of fact, it was even better luck when we came by on Wednesday. This is from Wednesday afternoon, and there was actually crew there painting at the time. This is the Casey Jr. ticket booth out front, the iconic ticket booth out in front of Casey Jr. And those guys were actively painting when I arrived. And there you go. There you can see him applying some brush strokes to the top of that structure. Wonderful to see that. So this is considerably more. Casey Jr. is considerably more than just the new track and the Tangle thing. This thing is getting a top to bottom update. So when we arrived again on Friday, the scrim was still down, but you could see sort of the finished look of that. They're done here, much deeper, right? That's a much deeper, darker color than I remember it being, although it could be the shadow, but I think we can get the camera in there a little closer perhaps. Oh, and look at that. Yeah, you can see like that looks the new gold leaf, or I don't know if that's actual gold leaf or whatever, but that looks to be freshly updated as well. How exciting. Meanwhile, like I said, top to bottom, right? Coming around the corner, you got some crew. They're actually painting the fence, the queue. The queue is getting a repaint as well. As a matter of fact, I noticed that he was fixing some loose bars there as well. So they're really giving this thing. I love how much love Casey Jr. is getting. This is why I love Disneyland above all others, because they somehow find a way to respect these attractions, these original OG attractions, the way that they do. I think it's just fantastic. Casey Jr. still beloved by the Disney company. It's so great. Peeking over to the side by the restrooms by Red Rose Tavern, and a look at the castle there. I can't tell what, obviously it's been repainted, but I'm not sure. I can't visibly spot anything that says, hey, look at that. So we will move on around the corner to Big Thunder. Now this has become, or has been, a major part of our stories now for a few weeks because of the up and down situation with the return dates. But one thing we did note is that the train is now gone. Last week, the train was uncovered, and you could see that train that was just sitting there on the tracks just before it reached the station. That train is now gone. It's gone, so presumably it's backstage again in wherever they store the trains. The other train that was back there is still there, but it's also been uncovered. As a matter of fact, look at that. They've restored it. Number 6 is alive. Number 6 is back alive again. They put the smokestack onto the front of the train, and now it's sitting properly on its track, and it's now resting more or less where it was. Normally, that smokestack was around that edge right there, around the corner. You could just see it there laying on the ground, disassembled. Number 6 is back and put together and back on the track. And I swear, I thought I saw some movement back there, but I was too late. I was watching these guys. There's a lot of crew all over the attraction. There's crews down there. They were painting. They were doing touch-ups to the rockwork. You could see some guys over there. And I was just trying to find, there's those guys there. I was trying to find if there was a train on track. It can't be, though, because number 6 is still sitting there. But there's those guys. These guys were all touching up the rockwork down there in the queue. Found more crew in the loading station up there. So a lot of movement, a lot of activity, more activity than we've seen since this attraction went down. More people moving about in various places around the attraction, which is great to see. That's a very good sign. Here's another great sign. Come around the other side, and the third train that we saw on the tracks, that train is gone. That's got to mean something, right? It's got to mean that they're getting close to, or getting closer at least, to wrapping things up, right? There's there's guys on the ground down there doing touch-ups. The trains are off the track. They're putting them back together. I thought I heard somebody over the speakers last week, ride ops. So I feel like they're getting somewhere. The train isn't here, and the waterfall's not running as we come around the corner. Do note, though, there's standing water right there. You guys see that? Well, there's shadow, but I could see it. Where that shadow is standing water. That was dry last week. Last week, that looked bone dry. This week, standing water, which means they've tested the waterfall recently. Now, it's not on now, but they were testing it at least. So again, that's as important as ride testing, in my opinion, is that waterfall working when we get back to operational status. Oh, here we go. On our way out, I found another guy. There's a guy. He's walking around with a cup of paint, a cup of mix. He's like, okay, I think this spot, this spot right here, this could use a little touch. Wonderful. Absolutely wonderful. I love it. More good news from Adventureland Treehouse. Not the buckets, but look. Jane. Jane is back. No sooner did we put an eye on this fact that Jane was not functioning correctly, did Jane come back, and there she goes. The whole time I ran up and I'm like, oh my god, and a big ass smile on my face right now. I was so happy to be able to get back in this treehouse to check up on these things. It's so funny sometimes, the things that make us happy, or I don't know, speaking for myself at least, the things that make me happy are things like Jane coming back to work. Now if we can just make sure that monkey's working. Yeah! Alright, monkey! Time to feed the monkey. Now if we could just get that tea kettle to shut the heck up. Before we continue with the show, let me remind everybody of our travel affiliate, GetAwayToday. If you like what you're seeing in the parks right now and you're feeling that desire, feeling that pull to bring you back into the park, as so many people are doing, we're seeing the parks once again flush with guests. Be a part of that. Use the link in our description to book a trip to Disneyland or Disney World or a cruise or even Universal with our preferred travel affiliate, GetAwayToday. Amazing group of folks. We love them. They love us. They take care of us. They make our trips to Walt Disney World possible. We book all of our stuff through them, and with a little help from them too, it makes it so that we can actually do those trips more often than we would normally be able to. So that's a gratitude that they are extending, or that I'm grateful for, I should say. And if you want to contribute to that, you can participate by booking your trips through GetAwayToday. Buy your tickets or plan the entire trip with the hotels and everything. You're gonna love them. They're awesome. They're so smart. And they'll take really good care of you. Enjoy your trip. All right, let's get back to work. We're on Harbor Boulevard now, checking out the backside of Avengers Infinity Defense. It looks about as we left it last week. I mean, the steel does seem to be, the view seems to be closing in a little bit. Like there's more steel each week inside the actual, outer form. It's getting denser and more complete inside. You can see there's some interesting steel there. Although I think that was there last week. That sort of slanted, angled steel there. One thing though that did catch my eye, looking through the bottom area there, you see that white mesh-like steel there? That looks really familiar to me. We're gonna follow up on that and see if that makes any sense to what is showing in the concept art, but that looks really familiar to me. We'll get back to that. But let's get out to Harbor Boulevard. Nothing to update you here. Disney Way is still open. This was supposed to close in September. It's now October. Well, at least the sign said, hey, look for street closures in September. It's not happened yet. Busy day here again. And this is about 9:30 a.m. as we approach DCA. We're on our way to go get on the Pixar Pal Around. There's a guy doing a little paint work on some electrical or some light towers here. We're going to get on our non-swinging gondola and take a look first backstage at Coco. No, nothing to report here. Looks exactly as we have left it in weeks past. Let's head over to the view of Avengers Infinity Defense from above. And there's that. Okay, so in that left third is that new steel that we talked about. And a lot of people had said, yeah, they're probably going to connect it. It's probably going to, they're going to build the roof. We're going to show you that in the concept art in a little bit. But one thing that I want to point out is that, and I didn't see this the first time, but a member of our street team at freshbakepresents.com on the app, Kelly Marie, said, did you look at this? Nice little arrow. There's a crossbeam connecting those two, the far left and the main structure. There's a crossbeam connecting those. So that's probably that's going to constitute the bottom part, the bottom level of the roof that's going to extend over that, and then guests are going to travel underneath there. So those white buildings and all that, those are portable. Those are going to be removed eventually, and that's going to be, that entrance area. Great job by Kelly Marie noticing that on the app. Thanks to the Fresh Bake Street team on that. On the way back around, we'll try to see if we can find anything going on behind the cozy cones, but no, there's nothing going on there. It looks about as we left it last week. And then another final look as we drift past at Avengers Infinity Defense. That's a big, big, big building. My goodness. It's incredible, the size of that thing. We'll get on the ground, check out that Cozy Cones section, the restroom. It looks, that's just about, they have not added any more of that cinder block. The vertical rebar is in the same condition as we left it, nothing happening there. Sorry to report. Here's a look over the wall at Luigi's. There's that really close corner to the backstage area behind Luigi's. And they're up to something. You can see a construction worker there. Looks like they're up to something, but as it turns out, what they're up to is building scaffold. He's bringing up more scaffolding pieces, which we'll see again when we come around the other side from Avengers Campus. And there's that look. There's the crane that is back on site, lifting up the smaller pieces of steel, not the big industrial side pieces of steel. And also a little, looks like a mound of dirt covered by tarp there. Don't know what that's for. We saw them doing more digging last week. We'll go check that concept art on the wall down there and see if that lines up with what I'm being told with regard to that left piece of steel that went up last week. Before we do, let's put some eyes on those guys that we were talking about from Luigi's. That's that crew, and you could hear some whooping and hollering, but it was just them putting together that scaffolding, which means there's more work to do on this side of things, which is interesting. We haven't seen this kind of scaffolding at this site yet, now that I think about it. Scaffolding is usually an indicator that they're going to be doing close-up work, maybe stuff like sheathing, or I don't know. But the fact that they've got scaffolding going up here is pretty interesting. That's pretty telling that they've moved on to another level, another phase in construction. But let's take a look at that concept art. So again, we're standing right about here. We're gonna walk in, and this is actually, this is about the extension of what we're seeing, and that there's the gap right there. That's the gap between what's built already, the frame that's built already, and that extra piece of steel is, vertical steel is right about there. So I think they are just building this right there, a little overpass over the guest entrance. So everything that we're seeing right now, there's portables and temporary buildings in that space that they would remove. I wanted to look again, and if we can see that white mesh-like steel that we saw from the hotel, it would have been right about there, but I think it's a little bit below. It's either below the fence line or it's being obscured by the crane. But that sure does look a lot like this truss system that they've built for Tony Stark Flight Lab. That what we're seeing on the ground looked a lot like that. The thing that's got me second guessing that, though, is that it seems like it's too early to put such a finished piece of product, a finished piece of the building on site already. That seems really early to be doing something like that, because they haven't even finished building the frame yet. So what is it that they're going to attach it to? They can't attach it yet because it's not done yet. And who knows how long that could be. I mean, I feel like it should be a little while. But I don't know what else that could be. That's Avengers Infinity Defense. Let's go to downtown Disney, where We're going to check in on some projects and get disappointed some more. Nothing happening here at Tortilla Joe's. I don't know, man. This looks exactly like it did every week for the past 100 weeks. There's the monorail again. And no progress, visible progress here at the Lego store. That is still down. They're breaking up the concrete down there on that side, and they're also, I believe, going to be installing a new Lego feature, but nothing to show there. We do have some progress here at Lululemon, ESPN Zone. That's sheathing. We've got sheathing up, which means they finally have sort of settled on what it is they're doing out here, I guess. Sheathing is a good sign. That means that they're finishing the final facade elements. Otherwise, the building looks about the same as it did last week from the rear as well. That's about how we left it. Now, here's something interesting at Earl's Sandwich. No way, I take that back. It's not interesting. It looks exactly as it has forever. And if you think I'm joking, if you think I'm being like hyperbolic, here, this is last week. Keep an eye on that plank that's sitting there and the sheathing to its right. Right, so that's last week. Here's the week before that. Okay, so that's recent times. How about 4 weeks ago? This is September 26th. Still too recent for you? How about a month before that? This is August 22nd. This is now 2 months ago. August 22nd, 2 months, looks exactly the same. We have to go back to July to see a visual change, a visual update where they added sheathing to that little corner right there. Otherwise, nothing has happened. And that plank, by the way, is still that plank's still there. Nothing happening at Earl's Sandwich since August. And more of the same here. I will say this, though. This is the first time I've actually seen movement. As I'm walking by there, I don't think you're going to be able to see it through the lens, but I could with my naked eye. There was somebody had a flashlight, or like a phone flashlight on, and I could see it through the skin. There was somebody walking through there. One guy quietly making his way through the building. There's nobody in there. Nobody in there. Meanwhile, look, hey, Tortilla Joe's from the monorail. Yeah, nothing happening there still. And then we're going to wrap at the Troubadour Tavern back in Fantasyland. I forgot about this guy. This is another thing where I've seen no visual. How long does it take to do whatever it is that they're doing here? Like, are they putting in a new facade? If it's just paint, that should have been done by now. I don't know. I don't think it takes 2 months now to repaint that. So there's something else happening there. And then we'll check in on the Fantasyland Theater, and we can observe that they are in fact installing the Christmas meet and greet here. Candy canes on stage. That's to the left is where you can meet Santa Claus. There's our first Christmas tree of the season right there coming into frame. There's another Christmas tree into frame on the left. How delightful. And then over to the right, I think we got more. Yes. More Christmas trees, snow, etc. Welcome back to the Christmas season soon in Fantasyland. All right, let's take a look at the refurb calendar. And by the way, normally this is a super long, lengthy discussion. This is the briefest, most minimal refurb calendar I have seen since I've started doing this, where I close out the report with the refurb calendar. Ever since I started doing that, this is the shortest list of attractions I've ever seen. Casey Jr. Storybook Land, closed. No known date for them to reopening. That's a shame. So even though we're getting close, there's still no date. Same thing for Big Thunder, closed. No known date. We had a date, then we lost it, then we had another date, and we lost it. So right now we're looking at probably December now. At this point, we're looking at December. And that's small, but that's just a refurb for or a closure to install the holiday. It's not a refurb. So Small World is closing on October 30th, reopening on November 14th, and that's it at Disneyland. Everything else is up. Everything else is up and running. Guys, this is how good we have it right now, and it's going to be better. It's going to be better. And there's nothing on the calendar for the holiday season, as far as I know. There are no closures set for the holiday season. It's going to be wide open. Over at DCA, same thing. Mickey's Philhar Magic closes, or it is closed, I should say, reopening on October 31st. And Redwood Creek, that's also the same as Small World. That's just for the holiday, to install the holiday overlay at Redwood Creek, reopening on November 14th. So we have just 3 closed attractions at Disneyland and 1
And it barely qualifies. Nobody goes in there anyway. PhilharMagic at DCA. We're in great shape, you guys. Great shape. All right, that's it, guys. That's our coverage this week. Thanks for watching. We love you. Be safe out there. Be kind to one another. And fresh baked.